Hi, this is Carl Polachek, and this is another SOP video for managed service providers. Here's a question for you. Do you make money helping your clients move their offices? If not, you should seriously consider it. So on several occasions, we've had clients who moved from one part of town to another, moved into a bigger office, moved to the office upstairs, that sort of thing. Now, you could be on the outside looking in, which is always an option, or you could be actively a part of this. Now, here's the deal. Moves can be pretty stressful. So if you take on the job of helping your client move their office, you're taking on some of the stress. So you need to be aware of that. But it can be quite lucrative. The first thing that you have to address is whether or not this is billable. Now, I have a slight bias, which is it should be billable. This is by definition a move. So if you charge for adds, moves, changes, well, then you're golden because this is a move and it's all billable. If you have what's called an all-you-can-eat contract, which the technical term for that is stupidest thing ever invented, well, then you have a problem because theoretically your client should be able to come to you and say, hey, we're moving our entire office and what we're going to do is go to lunch while you do all the work because we have an all-we-can-eat contract and we want to eat all of the labor in your company for 2 days. So it's a perfect example of why you should never sign an all-you-can-eat contract. It's also a perfect example of why there is no such thing as an all-you-can-eat contract. Because if a client comes to you and says, hey, I need all of your technicians to put all of their time into moving my business for the next 2 days, you're probably going to say, no, that's not going to happen. In which case, you have proven to yourself that you don't really have an all-you-can-eat contract. So, that's a side note. Never, ever, ever use the term all-you-can-eat. Now, back to today's video. You should be charging for moves, and a move is a beautiful thing. But here's the way you need to look at it from the client's perspective. What you're doing in a move is a perfect example of what you want to do in this relationship. You want to make their life easier. You know, when the world is big and complicated, your options are you can make their life more complicated or less complicated. Taking on some of the responsibility of that move makes it less complicated for the client. Now, here's why you should do this. Big picture, if they move all their stuff, what's going to happen is you're going to show up at the new office, and if you're lucky, each person has moved all their crap. They haven't broken anything. There are no cracks in the monitors. There are no missing cables. There's a box full of stuff, a file box on their desk, and you've got to rummage through it and put it all together. In the real world, there will be something broken. There will be some cables missing. There will be some stuff mislabeled. Somebody's box is on somebody else's desktop. If you do that, you can put together a checklist. You create a service ticket specifically for the move, and in fact, you can have a service ticket for preparing for the move. Go ahead and create boxes, label the boxes, and give them to each client and say, here's what you do. You put your keyboard, your mouse, all of your cables in here, and when it gets moved, it's labeled with your name and your desk. And that way we know this is your stuff and nobody else's. You can't rely on other people to label their stuff properly, as bizarre as it sounds. So there's a ticket for that whole preparation. And then some moving company moves them. And then you have a separate ticket for setting up at the new office because you don't always know what's going to go on there. With luck, you've been engaged to do the wiring and set up their network and whatever needs to happen at that end. You should probably take total responsibility for things like network printers and UPSs. But then once the stuff is at a client's desk, you should be able in very short order to put all their stuff back together. And again, it's totally billable. If you had to guess, you'd probably say half an hour to take down, half an hour to put up. It's a very reasonable number to say 1 hour per employee per move. With luck, it'll be much more efficient than that, but also with luck, you'll get prepaid as a flat fee. So don't think of this as just some haphazard thing. It's really a good example of how some people say, well, you can't plan for everything. Every job is different. Every client is unique like a snowflake. Yeah, kind of, sort of, mostly, but not at all. In reality, a move is a move, right? Unless you've got a client that's got 27 peripherals and a whole bunch of stuff that all has to move with them, you know, it's a very unusual office that's got something like that. 99% of your clients, their end users, have exactly the same stuff that needs to get moved and exactly the same things that you need to be responsible for. And if you take responsibility for it, then you have to say, look, if one of our people breaks a monitor, obviously we got to pay for that. But our people know how to handle monitors and not drop them and not set them down on their face and, you know, other things like that. So, you know, it's one of those things where you can make money at this. You just have to have a process. It's just like anything else. I have an entire checklist specifically for this in volume 3 of the Managed Services Operations Manual, so you might want to take a look at that. Whatever you do, make sure that you're making money, make sure that it's billable. Don't do all you can eat. For Small Biz Thoughts, this is Carl Palchuk wishing you the best of luck in your managed service business. Like it if you like it, share it with your friends, and absolutely subscribe to the channel.